that pot, and you, my Lord, you're drinking it. And Lord Chaitanya, after drinking that water, started crying in ecstasy. He said, because I have drunk the water from Sridhar's pot, finally I have attained pure devotion to Krishna. I have become purified by drinking this water. It is like nectar. It is the wealth of my life. I have drunk the water from Sridhar's pot. And Lord Chaitanya, with a faltering voice, kept drinking and crying and crying. When the devotees saw this, they were besides themselves. They all fell to the ground in such deep emotion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had just conquered the all-powerful, opulent, wealthy military commander, the Chankazi, and he was totally conquered and subjugated by the love of Sridhar, simply by drinking the water that Sridhar had drunk. The Lord said, I will not take even celestial nectar from someone who does not have love, pure bhakti. But this water from Sridhar's pot is sweeter than nectar. After conquering Kazi, he was conquered by the devotion of Sridhar. Jagai and Madhai, they wreaked fear in everyone in Navadvip. People lived in paranoia of them, knowing that at any time they could rape their daughters, their wives, they could kill them, they could set their house on fire. And they were so powerful, even the government would not go anywhere near them. They were Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Shishupal, Dantavarkra. They had that power. And they had that demoniac evil nature. People feared them. In dramas, Jagai and Madhai, people laugh. But that's not the way they were. Nobody laughed when they were near Jagai Madhai. People ran in total fear. They were monsters. We see these horror movies in the cinemas with these monsters. They were more scary than that. And yet, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood before them and they bowed down to Lord Chaitanya in total fear and ultimately surrendered to him and Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Then a little later, after Lord Chaitanya conquered not only did he conquer Jagai and Madhai, but he conquered the entire illusory energy and left home and took sannyas. But when he came to Shantipur, in front of his beloved mother Sachi, Lord Chaitanya bowed to her. Lord Chaitanya felt great fear in his heart that he had offended Sachi Devi. He sat on her lap. She wept on him. And he wept on her. And he said with a faltering voice, my dear mother, somehow or other out of madness I took sannyas. I had no right to do this. You have given me my life. You've given me food. You've given me love. You've given me everything. Now I will do anything you say. If you want, I'll come back home and live with you. Sachi Devi said, now you're a sannyasi. People will criticize if you live with me. But you're on your way to Vrindavan. I'll never see you there. It was the Lord's most burning, deepest desire to go to Vrindavan. But Sachi Devi said, please go live in Puri instead. Krishna lives there as Jagannath. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who Jagai and Madhai surrendered to him, he surrendered to his mother's love and went to Puri. And one time Damodar Pandit went to visit Sachi and came back to Puri, and Lord Chaitanya said, how is my mother? And Damodar Pandit said, why do you ask such a foolish question as this? You know how your mother is. Whatever devotion you have, it's because of your mother. Whatever love you have is because of your mother. Whatever good qualities you have is because of your mother. And what was Lord Chaitanya's reply? He said, everything you say is absolutely correct. My only qualification is the love of my mother. Whatever devotion to Krishna I have is from her. Conquered by the love of his mother. At Srivas Thakur's house, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested the Mahaprakash. He displayed his supreme opulences as Ram, as Krishna, as Narasimha, as Narayan, the husband of the goddess of fortune. But one day, while sitting on the throne in Srivasa's house, in the role of the husband and the lord of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, he happened to see Suklambar Brahmachari, who was a simple beggar. He lived in a little thatched house in the bank of the Ganga, and nobody knew he was anybody from anyone. He would go out every day and beg. He had a little old cloth bag that he wore around his shoulder, and people would give him some old rice sometimes. Sometimes when a beggar comes, they go, hut, hut, out from here. And other times, you don't give a beggar the best thing you have. You usually give the worst. Just old, broken, dirty pieces of rice they'd throw in his bag. But he was always chanting Krishna's names. And after going to 7, 8, 11 houses every day, he would bring that rice, and whatever he did, he'd clean it nicely and cook it and offer it to Krishna. And that's how he sustained himself. He was the simplest person. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting on the throne, and all the devotees were chanting and dancing, and Suklambar Brahmachari was allowed to watch Lord Chaitanya in the kirtans every day. And on this particular day, Suklambar was dancing blissfully with his bag swinging on his shoulder, and all the devotees were watching him, and Lord Chaitanya said, Suklambar, come. He said, in every birth, you are my poverty-stricken beggar. And I cannot resist eating the food that you offer me. And even if you don't offer it, I take it anyway. And people were, what is he saying? Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his beautiful golden hand, and he had long arms so he could reach. He reached his hand right into the old bag of Suklambar that was hanging from his shoulder, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took out a whole handful of this raw, broken up, dirty rice and ate it. Then he thrust his hand in again and ate another handful and another handful, and Suklambar said, what are you doing? This is not fit for you. And all the devotees, what is happening? And Lord Chaitanya said, because of your love, I cannot resist. I am conquered by your love. I am hungry for whatever you have. Some people They get very, very excellent ingredients and they clean it and they prepare it, and then with mantras and with yantras and with mudras and with all sorts of other rituals they offer it to me, and if it's not offered in the proper way, I do not accept it. But for you, Shuklambar, I cannot even wait for you to offer it. I'm so hungry for your devotion. And he took more handfuls and ate it. And Vrindavan Das Thakur explains herein that all the rules and the regulations and the restrictions and the different types of philosophical explanations, they are all servants of one principle: pure love and devotion. And Shuklambar's love and devotion crushed all the rules and regulations and all the rituals of all the scriptures into powder. Because he has understood the essence. The husband of the goddess of fortune, who revealed the Mahaprakash to all the devotees, is begging for the simple rice of this poverty-stricken beggar, Shuklambar. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, anyone who saw him, anyone who was embraced by him, became purified. In Puri, when Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya that he wanted to leave this world with such humility, Lord Chaitanya said, "How could I live without you? You are the crown jewel of the creation. I am purified by seeing you. I am purified by touching you." And when Haridas Thakur passed away at the feet of Lord Chaitanya lifted his body and danced with his corpse and bathed it in the sea. And then he told the whole world that anyone who bathes in the sea, including myself, will be completely purified because it has touched the body of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, by caste distinctions, was untouchable. But Lord Chaitanya considered touching his body, dead or alive, to have purified his whole existence, conquered by the love of his devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Advaita Acharya manifested the Virat Rup, the universal form, showing that he was the cause of all causes, the source of everything, the proprietor of everything within the entire universe. But then, in Kumarahata, he said about Vasudev Dutt, Vasudev Dutt prayed, "Let all the sins of all the people, of all species of life in the whole universe fall on my head, and let me suffer perpetually for their karma, and let them all enjoy your loving association. Give them liberation." Lord Chaitanya was choked up. He couldn't talk. He was crying. He was so moved by the compassion of Vasudev Dutt. That same Lord that manifested himself as the universal form Virat Rup told Vasudev Datta, "I am simply your property. I belong to you. Anywhere you want to sell me, I am sold. I have no independence. I am yours. My body, my mind, my words, my life is your property." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Varanasi, he portrayed himself as a fruit seller. He said, "I have come with the fruits of love of Krishna, prema bhakti. Anyone who taste even one of these fruits will be satisfied for the rest of eternity. And I have so many fruits. How many could I distribute on my own? I am pleading with all of my devotees for all time to come. Please accept these fruits from me. Taste these fruits. Enjoy these fruits. And help me to distribute these fruits to the world. The Supreme Lord of all Lords is begging all of us to help him. Does he need our help? No. And yes. On the transcendental platform, relationships of pure unmotivated love are not necessarily logical. The Lord wants to give us a chance to enter into that realm of ecstatic love by being a part of his Leela. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, which is non-different than Vrindavan Leela or Madhurya Ras, is tasting and distributing the fruits of love of God, Prema Bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada explained, if we are in this spirit of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, tasting the holy name, tasting the Srimad Bhagavatam, tasting devotional service, and in inspiring others to do it, is Vrindavan Leela. Because it's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela when he comes to this world. King Prataparudra, with all of his power and all of his strength and all of his wealth, he couldn't impress Lord Chaitanya. But when he swept the street in utter humility before Jagannath and pleased the devotees like Ramananda Rai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was conquered by his devotion and bestowed all his mercy upon him. Tonight is Gaur Purnima, and in just a few minutes we will have the Gaur Arti. If the pujaris could make everything arranged. On this evening, most sacred occasion, let us meditate, contemplate, and offer a prayer of the incredible gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who's asking every living being to taste the sweetness of prema. And how the Lord, it is his greatest pleasure to be conquered by the love of his devotee. This is his pastimes. He could make the tigers and the elephants dance, and the village ladies of Navadvip would make him dance. He would beg for them, while the greatest rishis were begging for him. Our beloved Srila Prabhupada captured the very essence of the sweetness of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And not only did he present them in such a wonderful way, but he created a society which is really meant to invite us and the whole world to enter into the eternal transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Even while living in Bombay, or Pune, or Germany, or America, or wherever else you may be from, South Africa. We have some very special guests this evening. We have His Holiness Dayananda Swami Maharaj, who is taking the fruits of Lord Chaitanya to the Siberia and the coldest, most difficult parts of Russia, and England. We have my dear god brother Chakravarti Prabhu, wonderful kirtan singer, wonderful friend and devotee, and Dina Sharna Devi, who's such a very, very loving Vaishnavi, so determined, so enthusiastic. She is a member of the GBC, the second woman after Malati to sit on the GBC body. That's not an easy thing to do. And, you know, these very, very dedicated people who've given their hearts and souls, inspired by Srila Prabhupada's grace, are with us for Gaur Purnima. Let us very, very enthusiastically welcome them by raising our arms and chanting Hari Bol. Let us pray to Lord Chaitanya. Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauda Tveshe Namaha. That from our hearts Lord Chaitanya is described by Srila Prabhupada that pure devotional service is very rare. But for one who is the servant of the Lord and serves with sincerity, who is serious without ulterior motives, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu easily gives this crest jewel of all realizations. Pure love. On this day, let us pray that we can put our egos, our passions, and our selfish attachments aside and truly open our hearts to receive the grace of the Lord, the grace of the Acharyas, the grace of the Vaishnavas, so that we could truly understand the value of that pure desire to be the servant of the Lord, and to take the name of the Lord. And let us pray that we can take shelter of this principle as our ultimate aspiration in life, and not be distracted by the petty egos of this world. And let us offer our gratitude to Sri Sri Nitai Gaurachandra, to Srila Prabhupada and our Parampara, and let us offer our gratitude to each other. Thank you very much.